top 10 Chris Sims quarterbacks midway through the season. I hope we're going to do a side-by-side of June and now, because I don't remember the list exactly from when we did it this summer.
Right.
It looks a lot different now.
It does.
Do you want to go from the bottom to the top or the top to the bottom? Well, since we've unveiled the whole thing, let's start at the top. Patrick Mahomes, he was number one. He's still number one. What a shock. He's Patrick Mahomes.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, that's a no-brainer. It really isn't. I mean, there's just no situation, anything. I mean, there's no weakness to his game, really. You know, we've talked about it. Whatever it is, movement, decision-making, appropriate throws, clutchness, ability to make things happen off schedule, ability to make things happen when there's nothing there to be had. He's the most special quarterback we have in the sport. So that was a no-brainer.
And he's now the favorite to be the MVP after Russell Wilson had a couple of bad performances that made him no longer the odds-on favorite. Now, I think Wilson was 2.
Yes.
And Aaron Rodgers was 3.
Right.
You've now done the flippy-flop.
I have.
And you're back in Aaron Rodgers' good graces.
Yeah. I'm trying to kiss his butt a little here down the stretch of the season. But, listen, realistically, hey, how could the last 4 weeks change my mind a little bit about how those two match up? I mean, they're both awesome. We know that. Amazing. Russell Wilson's still phenomenal. I don't care about the turnovers or anything like that. But yes, when I'm comparing him to Aaron Rodgers and I'm going, whoa, these guys are both awesome, how am I going to separate that? Yes, Russell Wilson's lost 3 out of the last 4, and you could certainly argue that, he was a big part of why they lost some of those games. Aaron Rodgers this year, hey, the Tampa Bay game, we can pin on him, sure, the way he started off, some of those turnovers. But other than that, come on, the game, everything goes through him, as it does Russell Wilson, and he doesn't even have the same type of talent around him as Russell Wilson, and he's been making it happen, and they've been a machine on offense. So I think Rodgers should be second to Mahomes in the MVP voting right now, just the way it stands right now. But, hey, this was very close. But the fact with the turnovers of the last 3 weeks, that did, persuade me to put Rodgers in front of Russell Wilson at this moment.
Here's where it becomes extremely interesting.
Yeah.
We have seen major jumps from 12 and 18 respectively to 4 and 5 now. My guy red, your guy blue, Kyler Murray, Josh Allen. That's a hell of a jump.
Oh.
But you know what? I think especially for Murray, it's deserved. Allen, it's been a little rocky since starting 4-0, but still they're winning. They're getting it done. So I can get behind this. As of right now, Murray 4, Allen 5.
Yeah, this was a close one to me too, where I thought a little bit there for a while. I was like, man, who do I want to put here? Ultimately, I go with Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray and Josh Allen. If you remember at the time we did the list back in June and all that, I said, man, these are 2 guys that could be in the top 5 conversation when next year's over. They're just so talented, and I give Murray maybe the advantage, of course, because the way he manages the game at times, the running ability that he has is so special. It changes the defense and how they want to play. Josh Allen's offense is better than Kyler Murray's. He has more of a creative offense to throw the ball and do that. I don't think the Arizona offense would look as good throwing the ball and everything else if they didn't have the threat of, whoa, we have a really special running quarterback too. He really helps all of that out. And that, to me, is where I gave him the advantage over Josh Allen. But, again, you're going to see here in these top 4 or these top 5 quarterbacks, these are all guys that, it's them. The team it's about them. The team is built around them. The way they play every week is about them and the pressure they apply to the team. And that's where I go, yeah, from that standpoint, these guys in the top 5, that's why I think they're there, and that's why I got them there.
I want you to take the top 5, and I want you to rank them under this fact.
Okay.
The guy with the most help around him to the guy with the least help around him of your top 5.
Okay.
And we know number 1's Mahomes.
Yeah, Mahomes gets
Mahomes.
1. All right, and we know number 5 is Rodgers. We know that.
Is it Rodgers or is it Wilson? I guess it's Rodgers.
Yeah, because, I'm just going to go, okay, he's got DK, he's got Tyler Lockett, He's got some other in-between receivers and Greg Olsen that are good. And when Chris Carson's healthy, Rodgers, yes, I know Devontae Adams and Aaron Jones, but I'm going to say he's 5. So Mahomes 1. Ooh, I'm going to go Kyler 2. No, move. Yeah, I'm going to go Kyler 2, Josh Allen 3, Russell Wilson 4, Aaron Rodgers 5. I think that's.
Are you just basing that on offensive help or total team help?
No,
total
I'm
quality of team or just offense?
I was just going on offensive help, just like the weapons they have available to them, and that's where it's close. Kyler Murray or Josh Allen, I don't know. This is another thing where I'd like to do this list, like offensive weapons. Who's the top 10 teams in football with offensive weapons? But I don't know. Would you take Hopkins, Christian Kirk, Larry Fitzgerald, and Andy Isabella? And like Kenyon Drake and Edmonds over Josh Allen's supporting cast of Diggs, Beasley, Brown, Singletary, Moss. What would you do? That's a close one to me. What would you do there?
DeAndre Hopkins
is the tiebreaker, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think he makes up for all, and you know what? They do have a pretty good. They got a Hall of Famer in Larry Fitzgerald.
That's what I mean. Yeah, and Kirk is pretty good. Yeah. So
and Andy Isabella, right. I'd go with Cardinals. I agree with you on that. All right, there's a question from Twitter at dmathis14. Should Josh Allen be above Kyler Murray? It looked apparent last week. He's a way better passer and still has legs.
He is a better passer. I do agree with that. It's very close, as I just mentioned. I mean, it was. I was splitting hairs here. And I kind of think I answered the question a little bit. The reason I picked Kyler Murray is, yes, just a little bit of that running ability and what he does for his team is that it's that special, And Josh Allen, listen, he has some of that aspect too, but it's not to the point of Kyler Murray. And he is a better passer and dangerous there. But yeah, I think Kyler Murray, even the way he manages games and does all that too, I just give him a hair of an advantage, I think, in those two categories to where. I make Josh Allen 5 and Murray 4, but as you know, I love both.
The next guy after the top 5 is Deshaun Watson, the Texans quarterback. The Texans obviously struggling this year. Question from M. Gilroy 9. Poor Watson. He's truly the third guy I would start my franchise with after Mahomes and Kyler. Get him out of Houston. Not really a question as much as a command.
Yeah.
Get him out of Houston. A little too late for that because he signed his extension. He's going to be in Houston for a while, and he's the guy they're trying to build around. But it is sad to see a guy whose career is being wasted on a team that doesn't have the help around him that allows him to be the best quarterback he can be, Chris.
Yeah, it is. They hopefully they can fix this and get it right. We've seen Arizona, we've seen the Miami Dolphins really flip their team over in 1 year. Can they do that and start putting the right support system around Deshaun Watson? He's special. I mean, hey, listen, I don't disagree with what McGilroy 9 is saying there in a lot of ways. You're right. He'd be one of those guys where I maybe would think about him third to start an organization. He's got it all. He really does. There's no aspect of his game that is not, awesome. He is in a tough spot with a team that, again, just like the other guys in the top 5, it's all about him, except he just doesn't have enough support anywhere to kind of help him out. But, man, when you really study how he's played this year, has it been perfect? No, but it's been phenomenal. I mean, in a lot of ways. They would have 0 wins if they don't have Deshaun Watson. They'd have been blown out of some games by a lot more if they don't have Deshaun Watson. And the other thing, too, where Deshaun Watson, hey, he's a special thrower. He's a pocket quarterback, and I'm just going to talk about number 7. I made Lamar Jackson, right? And I'm just going to go. That one was I at first split hairs, but I went, you know what? Okay, Deshaun Watson's a really special pocket quarterback who has the ability to run, and I think that puts more pressure on you than Lamar Jackson, who has a greater ability to run, but I think is a lesser pocket quarterback than Deshaun Watson. I don't think that's even comparable at this point. So that's where I put, Watson 6 and Lamar 7.
And it was just 3 years ago that Watson was taking the league by storm as a rookie while Patrick Mahomes was sitting on the bench. I mean, think of how much the league changes.
I know.
In a relatively grand scheme of things, short period of time.
Yeah.
3 years ago, it was Watson. He went up to Seattle. Richard Sherman went to him after the game and said, "You've played better against this defense than any quarterback ever has." Torn ACL in practice, non-contact, Remember, Watson told us after the season he thought it happened on a hit in that Seattle game, that's what got it to the point where it was ready to go. And he's been struggling ever since then to get back to that point where he's that superstar, and he doesn't have the help around him. And meanwhile, here comes Patrick Mahomes, here comes Lamar Jackson, here comes Kyler Murray. But look, the Texans believe in him, and he's there. And even with the long-term contract, if he ever does sufficiently sour on the organization and decides he wants out, it's kind of hard to keep a franchise quarterback around who doesn't want to be there. You have a contract, deal with it attitude doesn't work with the guy who sets the tone for the locker room. And here's the thing. You've already set the precedent by what you did with DeAndre Hopkins. He didn't want to be there anymore. You trade him. If Deshaun Watson gets to the point where he doesn't want to be there anymore, you trade him. And I don't know that it gets burned down to that point in Houston. A lot of it hinges on the next GM and the next head coach. But I think back to the video from last hour of the question being posed to Deshaun Watson about DeAndre Hopkins. And the question, it's like, this guy's not comfortable right now. And they better do something to make him comfortable, Chris, or he's going to want out of there eventually. It may not be next year. Yeah. It may not be the year after, but eventually he's going to want out if they don't start turning this thing around.
Yeah, you're right, and I don't think we're there yet. I mean, it has been 2 playoffs appearances the last 2 years. Last year they did get a win finally, had that lead in Kansas City. But, to your point, if Houston's smart, they have a special guy, a special person with charisma, special person in the community. Those type of guys usually don't want to leave where they were drafted because they think, hey, I'm the man. I'm going to make this team good, and we're going to win Super Bowls here. I planted my flag here. I think he's that type of individual, and they just need to go all in with him. And I just, offensive genius this year in the head coaching search, all those things, and start framing the team around him just like Mahomes or Kyler Murray or even Josh Allen has, or, in their prospective careers.
We talked yesterday about teams that have turned it around dramatically. The Dolphins have done it. We were talking about the 1999 St. Louis Rams.
Yeah.
Has there ever been a team? I mean, think about it. The Texans are up 21-0 in the first half at Kansas City. From the moment Bill O'Brien decides not – no, I'm saying it was 21-0, and he freaked himself out, and he went for the field goal when he could have delivered the dagger and made it 28. But from the moment it's 21, and from that moment where has there ever been a fall like this one that fast where it's all just collapsing and he's gone? After he was made the general manager following the season, he's gone. DeAndre Hopkins is gone. You get the sense J.J. Watt can't wait to get the hell out of there.
Yeah.
And just this vague, who knows what's going to happen next. It's just amazing to see how quickly a team that was in position to deliver the dagger to the Chiefs. Because I think if it gets to 28-0, even with Patrick Mahomes, if it gets to 28, it's a little bit too much to expect. 24 gives you that opening. And it's amazing. And I feel bad for Deshaun Watson because he's one of our favorites, too. We got a lot of favorites. A lot of these young quarterbacks we love.
Yeah.
And he's the one that's been forgotten because he doesn't. We talk about who's got help around them. He's got nothing.
No, got nothing. It's a wide receiving core that's overrated. And I think a lot of people did. There's no running game. And it is a pitiful defense. I mean, a pitiful defense. And this is, again, where – this is one of those where I'm glad we're having this conversation because I think a lot of people will be able to – this is one of those where, hey, yeah, they're 2-7, but it ain't his fault. It ain't the quarterback. And it's more than the quarterback. It's not about one guy all the time. And I think he's the perfect example. And oddly enough, I don't think most times when you pick a quarterback who's 2-7 in the top 10, you get pushback from, people on social media. I would imagine most people are going to go, yeah, I can't really push back. I know he's awesome. It's just the team is really that bad.
You're getting pushback, though, from a couple of omissions. Let's start with Tom Brady, Fresh Prince of Rofo. I love that name. Only one question, where's Brady? And Mitch Milani, what about the number of big-time throws Brady has made this year? Look at the turnaround this team has made with him. He's made his offensive line better and his defense better by protecting the ball. Why is #Tommy not in your top 10?
Well, listen, he was on the edge, okay? Just for those that are looking at my top 10, like Derek Carr, Tom Brady, they were the next names up in this. Now, Brady's been really good. There's no doubt. Okay, it's an all-star team there in Tampa. I mean, we talked about weapons and all of those, with Mahomes and the top 5 quarterbacks. I mean, if we were going to rank them, I think Tampa's going to end up being number 1, probably in the whole league, let alone it's a great defense and all those things. So, yes, he's making plays. I know that. But it's just, I'm not going to sit here and go, oh, it's plays that nobody can make. I'm sorry, but all 6 quarterbacks that we've just talked about will make all those plays that Tom Brady did and more. And so will the next guys on my list as we go through here. So that it's not a thing against him. And then the other thing that you get into is, again, yeah, they got 3 losses. All right, then I start to think, well, how did they lose those 3 losses? Oh, well, big part of that was Tom Brady. I mean, period. You could blame really all 3 on him, maybe. Okay, I'll blame both Saints games, and then that Chicago game, hey, that was a tough night, and you certainly can blame him for the 3rd and 4th down thing, right? So he's right on the edge. I'm really love watching him. They're one of my favorite watches because of their aggressive passing game and, just seeing how they're tinkering with him. But no, you know me, Mike. I put a little too much stock into when nothing is there and you got to make plays and do all of that. What happens? And to me, that's where he's, at this point of his career, just not on the level of some of these other guys.
We've been wrestling with the question of MVP. Ben Roethlisberger, the Steelers, if they would finish the season 16-0, and that's still an uphill climb, even with only 7 games left and a 9-0 record, somebody from that organization has to be an MVP candidate. Why not the quarterback?
Sure.
And why isn't Ben at least in your top 10, given what the team is doing? We saw last year, Steelers without Ben struggle and struggle and struggle. Now with Ben back, same team otherwise, they're 9-0. How's he not in your top 10?
Well, again, it's more than one player, as we always talk about. It's still a really good football team, and they were in the playoff conversation all year, or at the end of the year, with the worst quarterbacks playing in football, and they were still in the playoff. I mean, the worst quarterback situation in the league last year was Pittsburgh. Okay, maybe I'm wrong, but it's one of the top two or three worst. All right, it's down there, and they were still had a fighting chance. Big Ben's been phenomenal, but the way they play as compared to the other guys in this list, it's not about Big Ben and everything. Big Ben has the luxury of, hey, they kind of just take it slow on offense. Hey, we got a great defense. I don't need to push the issue. Oh, it's ugly for the first 2 quarters. All right, now we've kind of figured it out. I know how you're attacking us. Now we'll slowly start to take a few chances and, boom, boom, boom. But, it has been great, and he's taking care of the ball, and he's still a great deep ball thrower. But again, I just go back to the same thing. A lot of these other guys here, the success of their team is all predicated on them from the get-go. When the game starts, it's about them, and they got to make it happen, and that's how their team plays. And Big Ben, at this point of his career, that's not how Pittsburgh plays. So he's doing really good. He's doing awesome. I mean, he still can throw that damn ball. But they're playing a complete game where he's managing the game and then finding his moments to take a shot here and there. And I think there's something to be said about that as compared to some of the other guys on here.
It really is, though, easy for Steelers fans and Roethlisberger supporters to argue he's not getting the proper respect this year.
I get it.
Your list, just otherwise, generally.
Yeah.
And he's the change factor. No matter how bad those guys were last year, he's the guy that's back. And here's this team at 9-0.
Well, yeah.
And I think listen, this is good, because this is one of the things Mike Tomlin can use to keep his guys a little bit upset, a little bit salty, the chip on the shoulder, right? You don't have the accolades pouring in the direction of Ben Roethlisberger. So I think that it serves you well as you try to finish the job of 16-0. Nobody's going to get soft and nobody's going to get big-headed because no one's praising Ben Roethlisberger the way they should.
No, I think there is something to that. Yes, it's truly a team effort. And I think part of the reason he's not getting more of the headlines and things like this is because, hey, think back about the start of the year. I mean, the first 5-6 weeks of the year, you were saying, I was saying, I don't know about the Steelers, and their offense has these moments, and they're not putting teams away and all of that, right? To where, that's, again, I'm taking that into account. I know it's been awesome just as of late, but he was afforded the luxury early on in the year to go like, hey, team, let me get used to playing football again and let me get in a rhythm and everything like that. And again, I would argue that, the majority of my guys in the top 10, it's not about that. The team and everything they do is about them.
The Steelers have had 2 convincing, overpowering wins this year, and it just happened to come in the 2 games out of 9 where I picked them to lose, against the Browns and against the Bengals. They blew both teams out. Otherwise, it's been a fight every week, which makes going 9-0 even more impressive.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.